What's the crack and welcome back to Alan's YouTube channel. If you've been following my channel recently, you've realised that I've become slightly addicted to a game on the PC, known as Lethal Company. It's a great game, let me tell you, it's just a great game. It's a co-op horror, but I've been streaming it recently on Twitch, which is the same as my YouTube, Nellans, but with an 03 on the end, so it's Nellans03. Link's going to be in the description. But I've decided to revisit an old video idea, which I done for Helldivers, which is a tier list. So I'm going to be doing a tier list on the enemies of Helldivers and how much they make me shit my pants. So we have 5 tiers today, guys, ranging from genuine shitty panties, scary as hell, kinda scary, meh, and no fear. And right off the bat, I'm going to put 2 of them in no fear, which is the roaming locust and the manticoil, because the roaming locusts, they're just bees that just fly about, basically, and you walk into them and then they fly away, they disperse and make a little noise. It's just a bit of world building, whereas the manticoils are genuinely just birds. They just fly about. You can kill them. There's no point in killing them. They don't drop anything, but you can kill them. They're really passive, so generally there's no point going after them. They're not like the tulip snakes where they have a purpose, so they're both going into no fear. Just to let you know, guys, I am using the Imperium mod on Lethal Company today. It lets me spawn in enemies and stuff like that. It lets me track their movement. So that's the wee white line you'll see during the gameplay. It's like the Pathfinder thing, so I can find them easier and just know where they're going. If I didn't use that, this video would take a lot longer to come out because I'd have to do everything naturally and get them, you know what I mean? So instead of doing that, I used a mod, just as a wee disclaimer, just so you know. Not everything's vanilla, but yeah, we'll get into it. Starting with the circuit bees, Sigurd's danger level has it at 90% and the highest spawn chance is on March with 35%. Bees will chase employees if they come within 15 meters of their beehive. If they manage to hit you, they can inflict some major damage fairly quickly, killing you. However, the hives are worth a good amount of money at times. The strategy to dealing with bees is to bait them away from their hive, strafe to the right, run behind the bees to the beehive, pick it up, running towards the ship, and once your visible stamina bar is empty, stop sprinting, drop the beehive, and then recover your stamina and try again until you're getting closer and closer to the ship. You want to put the beehive on the left or right of your ship or even towards the back. You don't want to put it in the doorway because they'll sting you every time you try to get onto the ship. If you then put the beehive in the outer frame and then make the ship take off to go back into space, the bees will fly away from the beehive. You can run out, pick up the beehive quickly and bring it back onto the ship. Bees are useful. They're very, very useful. They're good for getting money onto the ship without having to actually go into the facility, especially if you're in March, where they'll spawn quite commonly. So they're really not scary. So I'm going to put them in May. They're not scary in the slightest. They can be formidable if you're too slow or if they catch up or run out of stamina. They really can be formidable if they catch you unaware. Like if you accidentally stumble onto a beehive and then they just ravage you. So they can definitely kill you and they can be formidable, but they're just not scary. Come on, they're bees, you know what I mean? The hoarding bug. Sigurd's danger level has it at 0%, 30 attack damage and 3 health. Most commonly is found on Embryon with a spawn rate of 30.60%. The next highest is Assurance. The hoarding bug, or loot bug, or even the yippee bug looks like a cute little guy at first, scurrying around, finding loot, and bringing it back to its favourite room. However, if you take this bug's loot, they turn into a fast-flying, high-damaging Giga Chad. Do not anger them, but if you do, find a large room and do wide circles while hitting the loot bug in its abdomen to kill it. It takes about 3 hits to kill, so it shouldn't be too bad for you to deal with. Okay, the loot bug. Now, if it was in its little thing that it's showing right here, this little tiny thing, that'll be in no fear. However, I think the loot bug's kind of scary. Whenever you like get too close to its loot, well, you could even stumble upon it and not know, but like if you get too close to its loot and it starts attacking you, the only way is to either run, kill it, or if you took loot, God forbid, if you took its loot, you had to drop it, and there's no trading system, you can't drop it something else, you have to drop the loot that you took. So in the cases of like a high level moon where it takes like a golden cup or something, you'd be really annoyed. So the loot bug I'm going to put in kinda scary, just because it's so fast and it can kill you in 3 hits, well 4 hits, but it's so fast whenever you see it in game, and the only way to counter it is a wide circle like I said in the video. So I'm going to put it in kinda scary, I think it fits there. The snare flea. Sigurd's danger level has it at 30%, attack speed of 0.5 and damage of 10. The highest spawn chance is on Assurance at 25.91%. If I wasn't using mods, this snare flea probably would have killed me twice. When dropping from the ceiling, the snare flea latches onto your head and makes you drop your items. You can pick up your items again, like your shovel and melee, once to get it off your head. Or if you're close enough to an exit door, you can get outside the facility and the snare flea dies upon you leaving the building. The snare flea's hitbox is only on its head, but they can lose track when they're chasing you by a simple jump. So just one jump and they stop following your trail. In my opinion, the snare flea is one of the most annoying of the entities, and for solo runs, it can't actually kill you in one drop. In solo, it will take you to critical health, and then if a second one drops on you, it will kill you. But if you're with people, it can kill you whenever it drops onto your head. It won't just take you down to critical health, it will kill you if you're in a duo or a trio or a squad. Now, the snare flea. At the start of the game, whenever something latches around your head, covers your vision, and makes you just die without actually knowing what it is that's dropped onto your head, that's very scary. At the very start of the game, that's scary. Whenever you see the little shit that done that, you realise, damn, you're actually not that scary. Like, the design of it's not scary at all, but the fact that it can kill you instantly is quite scary. But for me, it's scarier than the bees, to be fair, but it's not. I'm sure there's a fear group out there for people that are scared of it, but for me, I'm going to put it in meh. It's not scary to look at, it's just scary whenever it gets a hold of you. For the first time, and then you realise, oh, damn, that's what killed me? Really? That's what killed me? So for that reason, I'm going to put it in meh. The Bracken, or the Flower Man. Sigurd's danger level has it at 70%. The Bracken insta-kills you if it sneaks up behind you, snapping your neck. It has 3 HP and is most commonly found at Vow at 26.14%. It's the master of stealth of a very complicated AI. The Bracken quietly stalks employees from behind in an attempt to snap their necks. The Bracken, if spotted, will retreat for about 30 seconds, giving you a 30-second grace period of when it can't attack. However, if you look at the Bracken while it's retreating, this grace period timer will not start until you break eye contact with the Bracken. The Bracken does, however, have a chance to enter which is called stare down mode. If you look at the Bracken while it's in this state, it will attack you after only a few milliseconds. The Bracken is the same speed as you while you sprint. Do not attempt to kill this thing unless you have a shotgun. The Bracken is probably one of my favourite creatures in the game, and it's probably the most iconic creatures in the game. It's also very, very complicated, the AI of it, like how it follows you, especially on staircases and stuff. It's very complicated, the whole system that it follows to try and keep up with you and follow you. The design of it's scary, the whole sneaking up behind you when you're not looking of it's scary. The fact it can like combine with two like types of enemy, you know what I mean? Like if there's a Bracken and there's a haunted girl chasing you at the same time, it's very hard to manage the two. So that, for me, is what puts the Bracken at scary as hell. The whole black design with white eyes is just scary as it is, and the whole system of it sneaking up behind you is scary, so I'm going to put it as scary as hell. Don't think it's genuine shitty panties, because it's easy enough to deal with, but it's still scary. The Hygro Deer. A Sigurd danger level of 0%, providing you're fast on the snail. Most commonly found on offense at 15.17%. It can't be killed and does 35 contact damage per second. The Hydro Gear is extremely slow, and I'm going to be calling it the Blob or the Slime from now on. The Slime is probably the least scary hostile enemy in the game. The Blob of Cells is extremely slow moving and can be avoided by jumping on a railing and running past. However, if you're cornered or caught by a slime, it will devour your organic material, only leaving behind the suit that you're in. The Blob can be distracted by a boombox and will dance on top of it, leaving you alone. However, it will move towards the last person that it saw. So if it sees you and you're escaping and you leave via the door, it will camp that door until it sees something else to chase. So if you lead it to main door and you're in a squad and you don't communicate with your squad that you went to that door, and they go through that door, they will die pretty much instantly, as it does a lot of damage very quickly whenever it touches you. As it will show by the footage here, I go back in through the door, and yeah, you'll see here in a second, I just instantly die. Like, boom, dead. Like, it does not take long for it to kill you. The Blob. This door camping little piece of shit. It's not scary in the slightest. I'm tempted to put it in no fear, but I feel like the fact it can kill you always is going to induce a little bit of fear. But I'm more fearful of the beast than it. Like, the fact you can just jump on a railing and avoid it completely, run past it, that's you done. You know what I mean? That's not... You shouldn't be scared of that. It's fairly easy to avoid, so what's the point? You know what I mean? But yeah, so I'm going to be putting it in there. The Bunker Spider. Sigurd's danger level has it at 30%. Most commonly found on experimentation at 25.55%. Does 90 damage per second, making you a 2-shot from this thing. And it takes 5 hits to kill. The Bunker Spiders are your classic spider type enemy, which I'm sure strikes fear into a lot of people. Spiders don't really bother me, but that doesn't make this one any less creepy. The Bunker Spider is very territorial. If you step in or break a web, it'll chase straight after you. However, the bunker spider is quite slow, matching your walking speed in most cases. To counter it, walk backwards down a long hall while hitting it. The spider will speed up, however, on its last health point, making it move faster and attack faster. So for this part, start sprinting. You can also cheese it by getting onto the conveyor belt in factory room. The bunker spider. The bunker spiders are creepy. They're creepy fuckers. But as said, I'm not the biggest hater of spiders. I don't mind spiders. But I feel like people with arachnophobia will absolutely despise this thing because of how spindly its legs are. You know what I mean? Like, it's a creepy design, but for me, I'm going to be putting it in kind of scary because it's very territorial and it's quite easy to avoid. Once you know where its nest is, you can either avoid it or walk clean past it, because if you go near its nest and it starts looking at you, it doesn't attack you straight away. It just stares at you for a bit. It just looks at you. So you can really get past it quite easily, but it's not the hardest thing to kill either. It can two-shot you, so it is very dangerous, but it's not the hardest thing to kill. You just need a long hallway with no obstructions, walk backwards, and sprint at the end. So for that reason, I'm going to be putting it in kind of scary. The Thumper or Crawler. Sigurd's danger level of 70%, most commonly found on offense at 26.07%, attack speed of 1.5, and attack damage of 40. It takes 4 hits to kill this thing. It also takes 4 hits to kill you with this thing. The Thumper is extremely quick and ramps up in speed the longer it's running in a straight line. However, dealing with corners and turns is the downfall of the Thumper. When it roars, it's spotted you and it will chase you until it loses line of sight. Once line of sight has been lost, it will roar again and patrol the area in an aggressive, fast state. The Thumper can be jumped over in a straight line, and it is worth noting they are deaf, but they do have exceptional eyesight and will see you and will chase you. The Thumper. I think the Thumper is extremely scary. So whenever you're not paying attention and you hear the thumps coming and you don't know where it's coming from because it's echoing around, and then it fucking roars and it just charges you out of nowhere, that is terrifying, especially in a dark place where it will just charge through the darkness and hit you hard. It will hit you so hard. The fact you can jump over it and it can't deal with corners too well is a very, very easy counter for it. I don't think I've ever been able to kill this thing inside normal gameplay. I think I always try to avoid it or just run, to be perfectly honest. I don't think I've ever killed one. I either die or run and escape. So for that reason, I'm going to put it with scary as hell along with the Bracken, just behind the Bracken. I think the Bracken's scarier. But like, just in terms of gameplay, having this thing lurch out of the smoke at you at full speed is just terrifying. So that's why I've put it up there. Eyeless dogs. Eyeless dogs are our first entry not to have a danger level displayed by Sigurd. They are commonly found on Titan at 65.04%. They take 12 hits to kill, but will insta-kill you. Eyeless dogs are completely blind, hence the name, but have great hearing. If in the right range, they will lunge at the area where they last heard a noise. That includes almost every noise in the game, from radios to sprinting. Eyeless dogs have quite a scary design, but they're easy to avoid. They can't hear you if you crouch walk, and once they charge, they have very limited directionality, making them very easy to strafe around once a noise is made. So for this thing, it can really scare you if you're on the ship and you make a noise and you don't mean to, and it will charge onto the ship and kill you, or your teammate, you know what I mean? So it can be scary enough, but it's easy to avoid, just with a strafe to the left or right whenever it's charging already. But the fact that it can insta-kill you makes it very hard to do this. But for the most part, the dogs aren't too bad. It's just the whole tensity around it. Whenever you see one, you just know you have to be quiet. Eyeless dogs. Our first outdoor aggressive enemy. Now, on their own, eyeless dogs aren't that scary. But how they interact with every other outdoor enemy. First of all, the baboon hawk. They'll attack the baboon hawks. They'll kill the baboon hawks. That's not the worst one. The giants and the earth leviathan. See if you're trying to be quiet from a dog and a giant comes around and spots you and you have to run from the giant. Those two conflict. And then bam, the dog is the scariest thing out of the two. Because you're trying to escape this thing that can hear you while running. And it's just hard. It's so hard to do. Especially whenever you make it to the ship and you don't close the door in time. They get into the ship, they kill you. The design of them, they're all teeth, and it's quite scary. But for me, I don't think they're scary as hell, because they're easy to avoid, they're quite easy to strafe, and their weakness is just crouching. So how scary can you be? So I'm going to put them in kind of scary, above the loot bug. I should probably move that. The loot bug's lowest on the kind of scary scale. But yeah, I'd say the eyeless dog, it doesn't quite make it to scary as hell, but it is quite close. Baboon hawks. Sigurd's danger level of 75%, most commonly found in adamants at 54.74%. It takes 4 hit to kill, and it's able to kill you in 4 hits as well. The Baboon Hawk will stalk you until you notice it. If within range, the Baboon Hawk will then mimic your movements, moving forward when you do and backwards when you do. While the Baboon Hawks are roaming, they can join with other Baboon Hawks they find, simplifying their AI. If the number of Baboon Hawks outnumbers the numbers of player in a group, they will take turns attacking the player. They have nests that they will return found loot to that are found on the outside. These nests are indicated by 3 wooden spikes, one with a head of a employee on it. And their nests, you can sometimes find one of them sleeping at the nest, and unless awoken, they won't wake up on their own. Out of the outside enemies, except for the bees, I think the Baboon Hawk is the least scary because they're really not that bad. Because it's not that they're easy to avoid. These ones are harder to avoid than some of the other ones. Like the eyeless dog is pretty easy to avoid. But the Baboon Hawks, they're quite hard to avoid. But it's not often they will attack you, because realistically they have to be roaming for a certain amount of time to find the right numbers to attack you, because they've got a fear system. So if you're holding a shovel, that induces fear into them and there's less chance of them attacking. So even if there's 3 of them and you're holding a shovel, chances are they won't attack. They can, but chances are they won't, depending on size as well, because their size is random too. So for that reason, I'm going to put them in kind of scary. No, I'm going to put them at the top of Meh. At the top of Meh. That seems fair. They're not scary, their design's not scary, you know what I mean? And it's only really bad whenever they get into a big group. Forest Keeper, or Forest Giant. Sigurd danger level of 50%. Most commonly found on Vow at 65.36%. They take 30 hits from a shovel to kill, and are able to insta-kill you if they catch you. Giants are kind of terrifying. Being able to hear their immense footsteps before you see them can often leave you in a state of confusion and dread. The giants are deaf but have incredible eyesight over long ranges. The only way to avoid a giant which you've already aggroed is to break line of sight. They can see anything in their vision even if you are crouched and standing still, which will increase their suspicion meter. But this is filled faster by movement of any kind. Even if you're crouched and moving, that has the same effect on sprinting in its line of sight, resulting in you getting spotted faster. If the giant loses you, it will remain aggroed and patrol the area that it last spotted you in for a short time. The giants, they're very scary and they're very hard to avoid at times because of their immense eyesight. So if you're seen by one and you're running back to the ship, chances are you're going to get caught unless you're on a planet like March, where there's a lot of trees to break line of sight or even hills to break line of sight. A giant chasing you is very, very fast, almost as fast as the eyeless dogs chasing you. So whenever they run at you, it's very, very hard to actually break line of sight in time before they grab you in their hand. Once they grab you in your hand, you can stop them from grabbing you if you dropped a stun grenade just before they grabbed you. This will make them drop you instantly. You can also avoid dying from them if your teammate teleports you back to the ship while they grab you. So that will take you out of that animation. You will lose all of your loot and you will die if it catches you as well, so all of your loot will be eaten by the giant as well as yourself. It takes 30 hits to kill, so there's no point going after this thing unless it gets struck by lightning or Easter eggs. So, the Forest Giant. I already called it very scary, I already called it terrifying. I think it is the scariest outdoor enemy, by far. It's not even close, because it's so hard to avoid. Because it can see you so well. I mean, you can stay behind it, but chances are it's going to see you before you get to the ship no matter what. So for me, I think it's the scariest outdoor enemy out of the lot. So no, it's not the scariest. Hold on. I forgot about one in particular. But out of the ones that we've done so far, it's the scariest. And I think it's scarier than the Thumper for me. Maybe I just have a thing that I'm scared of giants, but I'm going to put it scarier than the Thumper, still not as scary as the Bracken. Just because of how tense it can be. Whenever you can hear them walking about, but you can't see them just yet because they blend in with the trees quite well. So I'm going to put them in scary as hell right next to the Bracken and before the Thumper. You've made it to about halfway through the video. So this is the point where I remind you, please, 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 for the love of God, like and subscribe. Please, I beg. I'm a small content creator still. I'm just trying to make my living, you know what I mean? Make my living, as if I'm making money off these. Are you joking? No, but seriously, like and subscribe. Let me know. I appreciate you getting this far. I also have a Twitch. It's Nellens03 rather than just Nellens. But anyway, back to the video. The Earth Leviathan or Sandworm. Sigurd danger level of 2, immune to damage, insta-kills you, and most commonly found on Assurance at 48.97%. Sigurd's danger level is simply wrong. This thing can proper sneak up on you and kill you. It's also massive and swallows anything in its path, and I mean anything. It can eat giants, dogs, and cruisers, and obviously players too. It drop all your items and run once the earth particles start moving beneath you. if you start running and get eaten while you have items in your inventory, if you get eaten, those items are gone. They're just simply gone, and so are you. Now, the rumble from the Earth Leviathan, as it like comes to stalk you and attack you, can definitely be scary as hell if you don't know what it is. But it's not that scary. Once you learn, you just drop your stuff and run whenever you see the Earth particles. It's quite easy to avoid, and it's not that scary really. It's just massive. So maybe I don't have a fear of giants, but like for me, it just about goes in the kind of scary, to be perfectly honest. I would be tempted to put it in meh, but seeing the baboon hawk and a fucking centipede in there is really making me debate it. So I'm going to put it in kind of scary. I'm actually going to put it below the loot bug. The spore lizard or the puffer. Sigurd danger level of 5%. Most commonly found in Embryon at 12.46%. Attack speed of 1 and 20 damage per hit. It's immune to damage and stuns. The spore lizard's a weird one. He is quite large and territorial, but for the most part docile, unless backed into a corner. If threatened, he will shake his tail, sending out smoke, making it difficult to see. If you stay within the smoke, the lizard will have a bite at you, damaging you. He will only attack you once though, and then back off again. For some reason, they're immune to all damage, and really aren't scary whatsoever. But seeing this thing tank a shotgun is quite scary in itself, to be perfectly honest with you. But yeah, he's not too bad. The spore lizard, despite being invincible, for some unknown reason, is not scary whatsoever. It's the first indoor enemy I'm actually going to put in no fear. Because it doesn't attack you unless you provoke it. And it's not the scariest design. It just kind of looks fucking goofy. Like it's got chubby legs, it's got a weird tail, purple dot in the tail. The only scary thing is that mouth. That weirdly inviting mouth. Apart from the teeth. But yeah, no, not for me. Not scary at all. Coil heads. Sigurd's danger level has a 80% and it's most commonly found on offense at 11.85%. There's an attack speed of 0.9 and attack damage of 90, and that leads to 450 DPS. Coil heads have the creepiest design out of all the entities in the game, in my opinion. Creepy design combines with lightning fast speeds and a weeping angel mechanic where they only move when they aren't being looked at. Make this a contender for the scariest entity in the game. The only saving grace from this thing is their recharge period and how long it takes for them to open doors. When in duos and above, as long as you stick together, you present a significant advantage over the coilhead. As if any employee has a line of sight, not just the one it's aggroed against, on the coilhead, it will not move. The focus point, however, isn't actually at its head, but at its pelvis. So if you get too close while looking at its chest or above, it can actually move and kill you. It's also impervious to damage. You're not able to kill this thing. But the recharge mechanic works as if it's chasing you for 35 seconds or more. It will enter this recharge mechanic where it will recharge for 15 seconds before pursuing you again. It won't actually be aggroed in this state and will patrol at this point. So whenever it's patrolling, it will not get aggroed on you again until you are in its line of sight, and then it will start chasing you again. By far, one of the creepiest and most threatening entities in the game. I won't lie to you guys, I am insanely scared of coilheads. Every time I hear their wet footprint just in this facility, it's enough to scare me, to be perfectly honest. So I don't think it would feel right to put them in anything else except genuine shitty panties. They make me shit myself. I hate them so much. They scare me so much. There's not many that are going into this top tier of the list, but that one deserves its spot. It is a creepy, scary fucker. The Nutcracker. The Nutcracker doesn't have a Sigurd's danger level and is most commonly found on Rend at 24.75%. There's a very odd bestiary entry, being the guardian of the house. Don't really know what that means, but they most commonly are found on Rend, like mentioned, and that has the most high spawn rate of Mansion, which has its own lore implications. They take 5 hits to kill, and you get 1 hit with a shotgun or a kick. One of the few entities to actually drop something when killed. In this case, it's the shotgun and 2 shotgun shells. Nutcrackers are invincible when roaming, only vulnerable whenever they show their eye, at which point any movement you make while in line of sight will alert them. This includes small camera movements. If spotted, they will shoot at you and try to get closer to you. The best way to deal with them is to bait shots and get 2 attacks in between the second shot and the reload end. If you get too close, they'll just kick you and insta-kill you, even when roaming. Now, the Nutcracker isn't scary for me. Like, it's scary to hear one, and you're like, there's a nutcracker there that can insta-kill you if you make the wrong move. And it's pretty nerve-wracking to keep track of where they are in in the facility. Like, in your head, you're like, you think they're over to the left, and it turns out they're over on the right, and you move somewhere you think is safe while it's like looking around and it sees you and comes after you. So in that regard, it's kind of scary, but the design of it's not scary, apart from the creepy, fleshy eye. But it does have one-hit kill potential, which gives me a bit of fear. So I'm going to slap it in kind of scary below the spider and above the loot bug. I think it slots in well there. Not much else to say on the nutcracker. It's just a weird one. The Jester. Sigurd danger level of 90% and most commonly found on Rend at 14.85%. This thing can't be killed and insta-kills you if you're caught. The Jester is the first entity we have come to where you genuinely have to change your playstyle to accommodate for them. If a Jester's on your map in solo, you can only loot close to the doors, limiting the loot you can actually find, as you can't go deeper in. When you first interact with the Jester, it will stalk you for about 15 seconds. It will then start winding up, and during this phase, it lasts about 42 seconds. After this, the Jester will pop, revealing a large skull, and the longer the Jester is popped, the faster it becomes. It always knows where the nearest player is and will always go towards that player. The Jester will remain popped until there is no live players left inside. Once everyone has left or died, it will return to its box and restart the cycle. Strong communication and a good strategy is the only way to best a Jester, but even at that point, you're not going to have a big loot day with a Jester on your map. Now, I don't care what anyone says. The Jester is terrifying. The Jester is absolutely terrifying. If you see one of these on your map, you know you're in for a bad time because you have to change your playstyle just to accommodate for a fucking music box. You know what I mean? Like, if you're in a group, it's awful because you have to communicate and you have to make sure to communicate. And if you don't have walkie-talkies, that's not going to happen, like, effectively. So chances are someone's going to trigger a Jester. They're going to get out because they know the danger, and then the rest of their team's dead. Apart from whoever, if someone's dead in the ship, they're not dead, obviously. But anyone else left in that building that doesn't know that there's a Jester that has just popped, and the first time they hear it pop is whenever it screams. They hear a scream from down the hall and it sprints at them through the darkness in full speed. That's terrifying. I don't back anyone that says they're not afraid of the Jester. So I'm going to put that in genuine shitty panties behind the Coilhead. I do think the Coilhead's scarier, even though you don't have to change your full tactic for him. I just think the design's scarier, to be perfectly honest, and I don't like the thought of something sneaking up on me while I'm not looking at it. That's why I don't like the Bracken either, but that's not the point. The Masked, or Mimics. The first entity we have come across that doesn't actually have a bestiary entry. It will most commonly appear naturally in Artifice at 7.81%. It takes 4 hits to kill, but insta-kills you if it gets its hands on you. That's if there's not a teammate ready for shovel that can hit it while it's grabbing you. Mimic is a strange entity, appearing as an employee but with a tragedy or comedy mask on. One of the few inside entities that can exist outside its facility, and one of the 2 that can actually leave the facility on its own accord. The Mimic will chase you down and try to throttle you if it sees you. It will then infect you, making you one of them. The Mimic also appears as a blue dot on the map, but has strange movement patterns. It's worth noting that teammates infected by the Mimic can still be teleported back to the ship. The Mimic will only leave the facility on its own accord if every employee has left the facility. I couldn't get my Mimic to do it in the gameplay, but if Mimic stumbles upon your ship, it can actually hide on the ship and wait for you to come back to it. It can hide in 3 places, 1 behind the locker, 2 beside the terminal, and 3 in the corner beside the beds if the beds have been removed. This entity can actually be forced to spawn if an employee puts on the tragedy or comedy mask. This forces them to become a Mimic, and it just kind of ruins the game, to be perfectly honest. The Mimic's not really scary. It's just kind of surprising whenever it comes out the door and like you're just not expecting it. Just because it's like surprising, it can give you a little spook because it can just burst out the door, like the front door if you're nearby it. It's actually worth mentioning while I'm here. The Mimic actually can't use fire exits to exit or go into the facility, so fire exit's pretty much safe. And if you're the last person and you leave through the fire exit, it will track to the front door to come outside the facility. Like, it has to go the whole way to the front door. But in terms of scariness, I don't think it's that scary. I'm actually going to put it in Meh, but I'm going to put it the scariest in Meh, because it's not too bad. The Ghost Girl. No bestiary reference yet again, most commonly found on Rend at 4.95%, and immune to all damage while insta-killing you if it touches you. The Ghost Girl targets a player based on a hidden value of insanity. Insanity has a number of contributing factors, but the little girl will always spawn behind its victim, designated by a giggle and heavy breathing. If the employee turns to look at the girl, it will either disappear or skip towards them. You can possibly look at the little girl twice before it's guaranteed to attack on the third time if you look. The Ghost Girl is not seen by any other employees, and if you get caught by her, your mind will quite literally be blown. The best way to counter the Ghost Girl is just not to look at her, because if you don't look at her, she will not skip towards you and she will not attack you. But if you do back into her while not looking at you, she will kill you anyway. Your head will literally explode. The Ghost Girl definitely has the creepiness value down to an absolute T, but I'll be honest, she is actually one of the funnest entities to mess with. Because see if your friend sees a little girl, just pure gaslight them. Just pure gaslight them. Just say, that's not in the game. What are you talking about? Make them go insane. Because I remember my mates done it to me the first time, and I was genuinely tripping. I did not know what to do. And it started skipping towards me, and I just sort of ran away. But the Ghost Girl definitely is fun. Definitely creepy. So I'm going to put it in scary as hell, below the Thumper. But it definitely has potential to be higher in some people's books. But at the end of the day, it's a little girl. You know what I mean? But it can't skip towards you and it will blow up your head. So take it as it comes. I'm going to put it scary as hell. The Butler. Sigurd danger level of 70%, most commonly found on Dying at 27.91%. Has 8 HP in multiplayer and 2 in single player, and does 10 damage a hit. The Butler and the Masked Hornets I've combined into one video segment. First of all, the Butler roams around cleaning the floors. If it spots a player, the Butler will linger around that player until the Butler is sure that they are alone. At this point, the Butler will stow the broom and have a final look around, pulling out a knife and attacking the player that's on their own. If the Butler kills the player, it'll stow the knife, pull out the broom and act as if nothing happened. If the Butler is killed, it will drop the knife for players to pick up, and it will expand and pop into Masked Hornets. Masked Hornets act the exact same way as Circuit Bees, following players around and doing damage whenever in close proximity. So for the Masked Hornets, which are up first, I'm actually just going to put them in... Did I put them in No Fear? No, I think I have to put them along with the Circuit Bees because they're basically the same entity. So I'm going to put them after the Circuit Bees because like a Butler exploding into Hornets is kind of scary. It's a scary it's a scary concept. So I'm going to put them as scarier than the Bees. The Butler himself, I'm going to put in kind of scary because it's weird that he waits until you're alone and then attacks you. It's worth noting, by the way, the knife that the Butler drops, if you pick it up, it actually one-hits the Butler no matter what because they're basically just balloons with hornets inside them. So if you think of a balloon, a knife's going to pop it. So yeah, that's why it's a one-hit with a knife. So that's why I'm going to put it in kind of scary. The fact that it waits for you until you're alone, away from your group, is a little bit creepy. He just follows you around and lingers. Plus his design is kind of creepy. His really yellow, ugly teeth. And he's just a skin sack. So that's why I'm going to put him in kind of scary. I'm going to put him in the middle of kind of scary. Because I think the spider's slightly creepier. But yeah, I'm going to put the Butler there. Old Birds. Old Birds used to have a Sigurd danger level. But that has since been removed from the game. But do have a very lower dense bestiary entry. Most commonly found on Embryon at 86.96%. It deals 30 damage up to insta-kill with its rocket attack, 30 with its stomp attack, 70 with its squish attack, and 160 / insta-kill with its grab attack. Old Birds are the scariest entity. With good maneuverability and great eyesight, the things can be a terror to come up against outside the facility. My gameplay footage comes from Embryon, where it can spawn up to 20 Old Birds at a time, and once you take the apparatus, they all activate at once. When an Old Bird is set to spawn on a map, the deactivated version will appear on the map at the start of the round. Eventually they will activate naturally or be forced to activate with apparatus. The missiles are fairly accurate but will not kill you with a direct impact, but instead blow you away. The only time missiles insta-kill is if they explode directly at your feet. These noisy, fast, towering enemies are often a death sentence if angered, but the best way to actually deal with them is to bait a grab attack, dodge the grab attack and go behind them, because whenever you're behind them they can't actually see you. So if you go behind them, they will patrol the area until they see you again. So the best idea is to bait it, run, get behind, and sprint the opposite direction. As mentioned, the old birds are probably the scariest outdoor entity, so that already puts them at a scariest hell ranking minimum because the giant is up there. For me, it's the noises the old birds make. They constantly are making really loud noises in your ears, and it really disorientates you at times whenever you're trying to escape them. But the whole tactic of baiting the grab and running behind it, it's very difficult to pull off in like a regular situation, especially on Embryon where there's tons of them attacking you. And if, by the way, if you want really fun times, try that on Embryon. It's actually so fun to try. But in the case of old birds, I'm gonna put them above Bracken, so they're gonna be the scariest in scariest hell, in my opinion, at the minute anyway. But another thing worth mentioning, whenever they fly up into the air, like you saw in the video, they can't see you if you're crouch walking underneath them. So like they will scan the area underneath them, but if you're crouch walking, they won't see you no matter what. So if you stay crouched, they cannot see you. Unless you get up and run, that's the only time they'll see you. But yeah, scary as hell for me. Right, so the Kidnapper Fox. The Kidnapper Fox has actually cut content from Lethal Company, but for me, the whole thing around it, like it sneaking up on you, grabbing you with its tongue, bringing you back to its lair and killing you, is a scary thing for me. And the design is quite creepy as well. The fact it's a wolf, that like, or well, it's a fox. But his mouth opens up like a big ass fucking tongue coming out to get you. For me, if it wasn't the game, I'd go into more detail, get the gameplay and stuff like that. I could go back and get more gameplay, but I'm not going to. But for me, I'm going to put this in scary as hell. But I'm going to put it at the lowest part of scary as hell because it's not in the game. So I don't know for a fact how scary it is. So I'm going to put it scary as hell in there. I think it slots in well in there. The Barber or Clay Surgeon. Sigurd doesn't actually have a danger level for this one, and it has a very strange bestiary entry. But it's most commonly found on dying at 13.27%. It's immune to damage, and attack speed ranges from 2 seconds to 0.2 seconds. It's an insta-kill if you're touched by his scissors. The Barber is a very strange entity with a very strange bestiary entry, but the Barber works by jumping about 3 meters, pausing with the backdrop of a snare drum for about 2.7 seconds and jumping again. The time between jumps shortens the longer the day has progressed. The Barber is also completely invisible until you are right beside him. They slowly fade in as you approach. If you touch their scissors at all, regardless of them moving, you will die. The Barber sees an employee, it will chase them until they are out of view. And once out of view, the Barber will continue to jump in the general direction of that employee about 6 times, in which case if the employee is not found or in sight again, it will just go back to being in its roaming phase. Now, the Barber is one of my favourite entities in the game. I think they're such a cool design. Like, it's simple, but it's cool. It's so out there. It's strange. So I think that's why the bestiary entry is also quite strange. It's not the scariest of things, but the fact it can really sneak up on you, because obviously not by the noise, because the noise is quite loud, as you can see by the gameplay. I'm probably playing the game as well. The noise is quite loud, so it's quite easy to know that they're nearby, but it's hard to know that they're on top of you until they are right on top of you or even killed. So the fact they can go invisible and they slowly stop becoming invisible the closer you get is quite scary to me. I'm going to put them in kinda scary, but the top of kinda scary. I said the top of kinda scary. There we go. So that's going to be that there. That's a good position for it. Last, but certainly not least, the Man-Eater. Sigurd's danger level of 1000%. Most commonly found on VOW at 18.69%. Can't be killed in the baby phase and has 5 HP in the adult phase. It insta-kills you if it hits you. This cute little guy starts out his life as a little ball wandering around the facility, stopping at each object it sees. It will sit and inspect these objects for a short time before either wandering away, eating them, which makes them noticeably chubbier, or falling over and crying. People will cry for the following reasons: falling over, being hit, having an item dropped beside them, getting a torch shown on them, or being left alone for 9 seconds. The only way to remedy the baby crying is to pick them up and rock them. However, while crying, there is an invisible timer running down in the background that cannot be reversed. This cry timer starts at 17 seconds until it hits 0. At 0, the cute baby morphs into a large, terrifying creature which scurries around and makes a nest. Once the location is made, the Man-Eater will cry again, this time in a deeper tone, trying to lure in an employee. Once you enter its nest, it will stalk you until it starts to attack. Once it starts to attack, a fear-inducing song will play while the Man-Eater lunges at you. making attempts at your life. If it connects with you, you're dead. Once a cute little guy, now a carnivorous monster. Yeah, the man eater's pretty tough, scary. Especially in mine shelves, it most commonly spawns in mine shelves, and it's a scary little fucker. Like, see if it cries too much, you're done. You're done. Yeah, this little fucker is getting put in genuine shitty panties, and it's going to the very top. I think it is the most terrifying whenever it turns into an adult phase in the whole game. But yeah, that completes our tier list. So the ones that make me shit myself the most are Maneater, Coilhead, and Jester. Scary as hell is Old Bird, Bracken, Giant, Thumper, Ghost Girl, the Kidnapper Fox. Kinda scary is the Barber, Eyeless Dog, the Bunker Spider, the Butler, the Nutcracker, the Loot Bug, and the Earthleviathan. Meh is the Mimic, Baboon Hawk, the Storm Centipede, the Mast Hornets, the Circuit Bees, and the Hydro Gear. And no fear at all is the tulip snakes, the hornets, what are they called? The whatever. The manticoils and the spore lizard. I hope you enjoyed this video. It took a long time to make with all the gameplay and stuff. Also, I'm still working my way out around the editing software, so I hope you liked the video anyway. Hope you like and subscribe. My Twitch will be in the description, and yeah, have a good day, guys.